Alright, hello everyone, Theodore Burns here again for another edition of the Formula Sprint Lap Walkthrough. This is week number 7 and we are at Circuit Zolder Grand Prix. So I ran a 1:24.243 earlier today in an official race session. So I'm pretty proud of this lap because I just bought Zolder and this is the first time I've ever raced on the track. I've probably only done maybe 25 or 30 laps here total in my entire, I guess, racing history. So completely new track to me. So trying to still kind of learn this one out. So hopefully this is fast enough. I've seen get down maybe a 23 is practice time, but this is currently the fastest race lap out there. So hopefully I can help you. So without further ado, let's give a ride along. Alright, and so there's a 24.243 lap around Zolder. So I think there's still a bit of time on the table, but like I said, I'd like to get this video out to you guys here early in the week, so hopefully it can help you guys out there on track. So let's start off coming up into turn 1. So turn 1, we're not able to quite take flat out, so I like to stay in 5th gear, and I'm looking for the end of the Coke Zero lettering here, right when the black ends on the wall. I'm starting far track right, and once I get right here to the end of the lettering, I'm going to apply a bit of brake. I'm going to try and carry quite a bit of trail brake into this corner. I'm going to go down into 4th gear, and it's a really long, really fast corner, but try and carry a bit of trail brake. See, I can let off there, and I want to try and get down and hit the apex. There's kind of an apex curb here over on the left-hand side of the track. And I want to try and get down as close to this curb as possible. Now, once I get to this curb, it's like, pretty much any traditional track, get right back on throttle and power out of the corner. So you start to ease back in throttle till I get straight. Keep quite a bit of steering input in there, but I'm able to unwind the wheel pretty easily without worrying about going too far over onto the rumble strips. Now, coming up to the second corner, right-hander up here, I'm going to come up into 5th gear, and I'm going to try and drive in pretty deep because this is a really long corner. It really extends itself very far, very far to the right. So I come in, and once the gravel trap starts up here over on the left, I'm going to start to brake for the corner, and I'm going to end up coming down into 4th gear, and I'm going to try and turn in pretty early so I can kind of get the same thing because there's a bit of curbing here on the right-hand side of the track, and I want to try and get the car turned as early as possible so I can get back onto throttle and really avoid this exit curbing here on the left-hand side because there's some big hot dog type curbs out there, and it'll really upset the car and end up throwing you out in the gravel trap, if not breaking your suspension, which has happened a couple times to me here in practice this week. But once I get down there onto that curb, I'm able to get back on full throttle in 4th gear, and it's a really easy way out of here. And I'll end up actually driving down past these curbs, fairly easy. My exit will bring me out about a car or two width away from there if I get that turn in nice and early. And back on power, and it's pretty much straightforward from here. Basically flat out keep it turning to the right here through the corner. I try and keep it tight, but it's flat out, no problem making this corner at all. So let's go back through and watch that sequence of corners one more time in real speed. So for this next right-hand corner up here, I'm looking for these access roads over here on the left-hand side of the track. Once I hit that first access road, I'm going to start my turn into the corner. Now once I've actually turned the car into the corner, that's when I'm going to lift off of the gas. I'm going to give it just a touch of trail brake, especially once the tires are hot. You don't really need a whole lot. But I'm going to end up coasting and turning in. I'm looking for these hot dog curbs here on the inside, right of the apex. And once I get down to there, I can start to ease the power back in. And I'm staying in 5th gear through this entire corner, and I can get back on full, and if I'm able to get that little bit of trail brake, that little lift, I have no worries coming over here onto this curbing on exit. I feel you could probably do it with just a little lift, or you may be even able to do it flat out, but you run a high risk of ending up over here onto the gravel and getting a 1X, voiding your lap, and end up spinning off into the inside. So, I guess we can play through that corner one more time, real speed here. Right, so coming up into the first chicane up here, it's kind of a difficult braking zone. I'm looking for the big red and white paint on the wall here, but I'm braking, a couple car lengths before it. I can drive up about to it, but I find it's a little bit safer if I start to brake a couple of car lengths before I actually get up to those. And I'm going to end up coming down into only 3rd gear. So I've been able to do this in 2nd. You can even go down to 1st, but I feel 3rd gear is the best one if you're able to carry the speed. And we're going to turning pretty early. We don't want to hit these white curbs here because it'll upset the car quite a bit, but I want to get as close to them as possible and eat up all of this first curb here on the left-hand side. So you see I'm able to get the car down and not hit those white curbs, and I've got it pretty much all the way rotated, and I can actually use a little bit of throttle application here to pick up my corner speed and actually drive out of here. Helps rotate the car a little bit there as it's kind of bouncing, and you'll see I'll end up avoiding these white curbs here, which will also upset the car quite a bit. Don't want to hit that button. And I can get back on the throttle extremely quickly, right over that curb, doesn't upset the car too much, and I have the power right back down and driving out of there. And that's going to save you quite a bit of time going through there in the 3rd gear. So again, it's all about attacking that first curb there. So I'll play through this one more time here, real speed. Ends up coming pretty easy through there. So coming up to the next little chicane, this one's extremely blind, very hard to see as we're approaching here. So again, I'm looking for the painted wall over here on the left-hand side. Once I reach this painted wall is when I'm going to start braking for the corner. So it's pretty deep here. So car's gotten up to the wall. There we go, hitting my brakes. If I drive up to this curbing here, it's going to be a little bit too far. So I'm coming down into 2nd gear for this corner, and it's a pretty late turn-in because it's pretty easy now to spot the white curbs there, and the track really dips down into it. Same thing on the 2nd apex over here. The track really kind of dips into it, so you can really use it to kind of slingshot and turn the car through the corners. But I want to avoid those because it'll upset the car a lot, probably end up spinning out, but I want to get down close to them. You see the track really dips down here. So as soon as I get here into this corner onto the right, I want to immediately turn back to the left as quickly as possible. I want to have really fast hands because I want to really try and bend the car around this left-hand corner here so I can get a great run out and down the ensuing corners, which pretty much like a straightaway here. So again, getting the left side tires down as close to those white curbs as possible. Actually ended up hitting it a little bit there, which kind of kicks the rear end around just a little bit. And then we have to be extremely careful getting back on power coming out of these corners here. I like to stay on about half throttle until I've actually made it all the way through the next right-hander up ahead, because it's extremely slippery track here. It's very difficult to get the power down. So I ease up, as I'm in the straight line, but I'm not quite to full, but I'm going to actually back out. And again, it's really quick hands, a really quick left-right transition. To try and get down as close to those white sausage curbs as possible. And once I've made it through that corner there, I can start to ease back in the power, and I'll feel the rear end keep rotating around to the outside here, but I'll be able to keep it nice and tight onto onto the track, if not riding just a little bit onto the curb here, and get out of there with no problem. And then from there, I'm able to take it flat out. The next couple corners here, it's all about a nice line. It's kind of blind, but knowing where it's coming, staying tight onto this curb here, you have no problem going through here. Again, flat out, and as we crest up over the hill, it's going to be a left-hand corner, and then down a little bit of a straightaway. So I'm going to go ahead and play back through the chicane here one more time. Okay, so coming up to, it's a pretty traditional hairpin here on the track. It's extremely flat. So my braking point for this one, I kind of use two sight markers here. I use the 100-meter board up here on the left-hand side of the track, and I use the end of the wall with the big red paint right there. And I'm going to brake actually kind of halfway in between them. So once I pass the 100, but haven't quite gotten up here to the paint mark, is kind of what I'm using for sight reference. There, once I get about halfway between the two, that's when I'm hitting my brakes. And I'm going to end up coming down all the way to, you can take this in second gear like I do in this lap. I usually end up coming down into first gear. And again, it's a very traditional hairpin. We're going to carry quite a bit of trail brake into the corner. Have a little bit of camber here on the road to help us. So try and get down tight to the apex. If you put a wheel onto the curb here, usually end up bottoming the car out right as we pass the center of the corner onto exit. But once we get the car turned down into the apex and rotated, we can start to get back on throttle, just like textbook hairpin right there. But again, really have to ease into throttle here because this again, really slippery portion of the track. So ease back into throttle until we get the car straightened out. Have to do a little check there, but then it's straight again and end up over here on the exit curbing. Just again, pretty traditional hairpin. So play back through that one more time so you can get the brake markers, all the sight points. Right, so coming up to the last corner here, I'm looking at the bright, blue bridge over top and the ensuing shadow right beneath. So that is going to be my braking point for this corner. Brake right at the bridge, right at the shadow. There we go, nice heavy brake zone. I'm going to come down to second gear again, watching to keep the right side tires close to the grass but not on them so as not to spin out. Again, it's a really slippery corner down here, so I'd like to keep quite a bit of trail brake, but be real careful that the car doesn't over-rotate coming into the corner as it kind of dives down the track, so we have a bit of camber to help us. Again, avoiding the sausage curbs, but trying to get as tight onto the normal curbing as possible. Carried all the trail brake there. I'm able to get back onto about half throttle here as I turn back to the right. Again, quick transition in the hands. Try and get close to this sausage curb here. Try and round this corner as much as possible. Get all the rotation done early so I don't have to rotate it way out here on exit. But again, it's going to be real slippery, so I'm still easing into throttle as I'm turning the car here, and you can get in throttle a little bit too soon. It'll kind of kick the rear end out. It'll keep it rotating as we end up over here tracking out onto the curb. You can always do a check on the throttle, but you're going to lose a lot of time down the straightaway. So it's best to just wait on that initial application and get the power down once you know that you're headed straight and can get a good run out down the straightaway. All right, so we'll play through the last chicane here one more time in real speed. All right, and up across the line, and there you have it, a 1:24.243 lap around Zolder. So again, I think there's a little bit of room for improvement here. Again, I just bought this track, so I haven't done a whole lot of laps there, but I feel this is a good, solid, clean lap for you guys to use the rest of this week. And yeah, I hope that helps you out this week. So yeah, again, thanks for watching the videos and stuff. So yeah, look forward to see you out there next week. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let me know how I can improve. So thanks again.